TV 9:30 East Coast time Tuesday, and we are running a bumper recording and streaming, and Dell is standing by. We're going to start a countdown to Studio 10. Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.TV Part 2. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and Dell Didway is in the green room, and I have asked his permission to take a couple of moments to acknowledge something that has happened today that makes my day. Folks, I have received by way of Amazon a beautiful, what we call a dead cat microphone. Now this is actually the dead cat, the furry thing here, okay? That's used for windy environments, okay? But this is a condenser microphone. It is what's called, it's special, okay? Now, the interesting thing about this is that we maintain, among other things, a list on Amazon, a wish list. And this is not the first time that I have been surprised, that someone found it and acted upon it and sent that. And I just want to say thank you. We don't mention names here. By the way, they didn't send one, they sent two. Okay. Left and right channels, folks. This is all stereo these days. And I just praise God for the faithfulness and the commitment and just, I'm just speechless, and thank you. Just thank you. Can't wait to put that to work, and we will. Okay, now, speaking of faithful, we have had on Tuesday nights about this time, Dell Didway join us faithfully, except I believe once he was in the hospital, and over almost, 2 years now. And Dell comes our way from the great state of Ohio, but we're actually... if I have my way, we're going to mention 3 states tonight. We're going to mention Ohio, we're going to mention Indiana, and we are going to mention Michigan. Why Michigan? Because you love
why
Michigan.
Ever Michigan.
You love, yeah. Why would we ever mention Michigan?
I know why. But we'll see.
Why? The only reason I know is I listen to your podcast.
What was that about? Okay, yeah, the Buckeyes. Yeah, I lose track of everything. I don't even know what I did 2 hours ago. So, hey, I was able to get in the chat room tonight for the first time in weeks. So
yeah, we'll have to change a lot.
I know. I was able to hack it and get in.
You can use Facebook to get in too,
I don't do Facebook that much.
Okay, all right. Well, but we're glad to have you, Dell, and it's.
Yeah. Let's get you with Lee, and I've got my little Billy Graham coffee mug here, so to commemorate that.
Oh my goodness!
And I got my my book. So
is that a $100 bill you use for a bookmark? Is that what that is?
Yeah. So that was a good show.
I've enjoyed speaking. I enjoyed having Lee on the program, but I've also enjoyed speaking with him off the air. He's we have a lot in common.
You need to get me like a finder's fee for all these folks I send your way.
I'll send a check.
Rubber check.
Checks in the mail.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for everybody for being out there. Like I said, I was able to get in for once, so I appreciate everybody being out there.
That's great. Do you want to start with your blog at delldidway.com? And I'll put that on the screen because it's an interesting spelling, but that's how you spell it. Dell, D-E-L, and then D-U, D-U-I-T. It's on the screen. I didn't have to say all that. You have to say it on your podcast because there's no screen.
Hey, this is your show, so you go whichever direction you want to go, and I'll just follow.
What's your blog? No, I loved. No, I didn't love your blog as much as I loved your podcast because the blog was about, a sport other than football.
Right. Well, yeah, the blog was about basketball, a little about, a little shameless promotion of a book coming up. We have our next book out. So that's what today's blog was about. And, I find it interesting. We're excited about this book coming out with me and Michelle Medlock Adams and I wrote together, and we didn't kill each other. We didn't, come to blows or anything like that. So we got along well. She liked my I'm like the brother she always wanted, and she's the sister I never wanted. So, we get along great.
How did you pin her down? I mean, she moves in many directions. She's like that bar of soap that is on the bottom of the tub. You
Yeah.
trying to catch it and it keeps spurting around.
And we came up with this.
She's like one of those balloons when you blow it up and let it go and try to aim it.
We came up with this idea. I think we were in New York City. Actually, we were at the Book Expo America. One evening we were just. I think we were at the TikTok Diner, and Kyle and I and Michelle, we were all sitting there just talking, and we had been talking to Indiana University Press, and we pitched them a book, and they liked the idea, and then so we just kind of it was kind of like a brainstorming session at night, and we just came up with the idea. Then we went back the next day and pitched. Kyle and I pitched the Michigan book, and then Michelle and I said we could do an Indiana book, and so that's how that was born. And so, it took us about a year to do, but it was a lot of fun to do, and we stayed in contact with each other, and so it was a lot of fun to write. So I mean, it took about a year to write, and then about a year to get it out. So it's been a 2-year process, but it's been fun. We signed the contract out of North Carolina at the North Carolina Writers Conference about 2 years ago, I think. And so, I mean, that's the long process in this journey. I mean, I'm still getting used to that. I'm used to doing things boom, 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 and just doesn't happen like that.
Well, yeah, it's like you got to put people on the Ferris wheel and keep loading it, and after a while they come around and you can start unloading, the paydays. But
yeah. But this book, it's called Heart of a Hoosier because Michelle's an IU fanatic, and Indiana is obviously known for basketball, and Michigan's known for football. So, and then we have the one book coming out, Kentucky Passion, about Kentucky basketball here next year. So, but this book's centered around Indiana University basketball. Very traditional, great program as far as basketball goes in that great state. And we took great moments. It's not a devotional; it's an inspirational. I don't know if Tammy's out there; she'll be thrilled for this book. So she's a Hoosier girl.
Hoosier, yeah.
So we're looking. We took great moments. It's 52 chapters. Great moments or players. It's kind of like a devotional, well, only without scripture, basically. But we get some points, and we get some little underlying tones in there a little bit. So. I have a lot of fun researching these because I'm not an expert on Indiana basketball, but one of the chapters I wrote was about Bob Knight and his infamous chair throwing incident, and I loved Bob Knight as a coach. I mean, I would have loved to have played for him. I'd love my boys to play for him. He wouldn't make it today. There's no way the wimpy liberals would let him do anything today.
Yeah, he'd hurt somebody's feelings.
He'd hurt somebody's feelings, or he'd cause somebody to cry, or he would, he would make a man out of them, and they don't want that. Liberals don't want to be made, their men to be made men.
Yeah.
They want them to be, anyway, I don't want to
put them in diapers,
Yeah. So I loved his, his fiery, I guess, temper. I loved his determination, and I never had the opportunity to interview Bob Knight. Would love to have done that. I appreciated his sarcasm. He was sarcastic with a lot of the media, deservingly so. A lot of the medias are idiots. So, he was and I could have gone the whole blog just writing about his accomplishments. I mean, saying he won, national championships was no big deal because he won, and all the Big Ten titles, 11 Big Ten titles, but all his other accomplishments. So, and all of his players, except for one, all of his players would die for that man.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one boy that he, I get, smacked in the face.
Yeah. Kid
probably deserved it. So
the Bobby Knight, when I was reading, and I'm not a basketball fan, but I compare him. A lot of people that accomplish things had issues with their temper. One of the greatest leaders that in our country's military history, George Patton, had a similar incident.
Yeah.
And and too much of history, too much of the written record is about that one moment that their passion or anger got the best of them, and they put that on the pedestal, and that cannot undo the mountains and mountains of accomplishments.
Well, this did not lead to his downfall at all. I mean, if, in fact, it probably secured him in the hearts of Indiana fans more, because when he threw the chair, coaches do things sometimes to get a spark out of their team, and it was early in the quarter, and it was already like 6 fouls to nothing, and 5 minutes into the quarter, and I think knew he had to do something. And he gets a technical foul on him, and I remember watching it, and he just grabs the chair and just flings it across the floor.
Yeah.
And everybody's watching, like, what in the world's going on here? Here comes a chair.
How about Woody?
And Woody's was different. That incident ended his career.
Yeah.
And it was a sour note, and sadly that's what a lot of folks remember Woody Hayes for, was his hitting the player. And that was just a sad ending to a great coach. But in Bob Knight's case, I mean, he went on to, bigger and, not bigger and better things, but he still went on to coach and still went on to, his sports career, as far as working in the broadcast booth and being an analyst, and his reality show, which was the only show I've ever watched as far as reality shows. I don't watch much television, but his reality show was so entertaining. I loved it. I loved that show. We would come home every Sunday night and watch that. And it was just a great concept for Texas Tech. You had one open spot on the roster. You had 12 players trying out for that one spot. And each week they would eliminate a player. Mm-hmm. And in the end, that one player got a scholarship. And it was a great entertainment to watch them go through the rigors of night school, Bob Night School. So, but so the purpose of that chapter was, we've all been there. I mean, if I've had my share of moments. I wish I could get back. I never threw a chair, but I've said things in anger. I've thrown things in anger. I think we've all done something like that. So I've never done it on national television. So I hope I never do.
You've never been on national television.
Never. Yeah, I have a couple times. Yeah, I have been. So okay. A couple times by accident. So
yeah, I was going to say you were in the crowd of 80,000 at the Horseshoe.
No, I was actually on. So a couple times, but yeah, you got to control yourself and do some things. I mean, nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Your anger is going. Something happens. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to strike out. It's makes you feel better. I mean, we were talking. I've read some books. I've been told as a parent that the worst time to discipline your child is when you're upset. I thought, no, that's the best time. I'm not going to go cool off and then come in and hey son, come here, man, bend over. Yeah. No, I do it when I'm mad. So so.
Bob Knight was to basketball in many ways what John Wayne was to Hollywood. He was bigger than life.
Yeah.
He was very skilled. He could be the good guy or he could be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was really. I mean, great coaches. There's so many great coaches. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski, played under Bob Knight, and Coach K now is revered. He has a temper too. But Coach K's got a really bad temper. I guess he learned from the best. But it doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him a bad coach. Bob Knight was probably the greatest coach, one of the greatest coaches I've ever seen. Two distinct differences. You have John Wooden, arguably one of the best coaches, so gentle and so soft-spoken. And here you have Bob Knight, not as many wins, but completely polar opposites, but still an effective leader. So you can lead. It's just your style of leading. John Wooden led with gentleness and respect, and everybody, when he spoke, everybody listened. But I think when Bob Knight spoke, everybody listened because a lot of fear. They didn't want to get knocked correct upside the head. So, but no, those players respected him and admired him and loved him. So the point of that chapter is there's going to be a moment in your life, hopefully a few, where you're going to come to that moment where the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do and the best feeling to do is grab that chair and fling it. but it's the wrong thing to do. So there's ways to handle that. And if you find yourself in that situation, and this chapter was in no means demeaning Bob Knight, because I admire the man. I said I didn't like what he did, but that didn't make me like, oh my gosh, they got to fire this guy. No, it was like, he did that for a reason. He got his team ended up losing, but still he tried to get his team motivated, and he got the point across. That, hey, our team's getting treated bad here, guys. And I think he just wanted fairness. His team perceived to be fairness.
Well, and I think coaches do engage in a little bit of drama. Football coaches will walk. The sideline is in fact a line, and the coach is not to go onto the field, but they do it all the time.
Oh,
they do it all the time, and of course they've got assistant coach staff. Hey, coach, come back here. That's to convince the referees that we're trying to do.
It's a daring process.
It's defiance. It's
it is. But they all have those moments. As a coach, I've gotten in baseball, I've been giving warnings on and you go out there to get them on purpose, to change the tone, to change what's going on.
Right.
I remember one time, do something. There was one game I was coaching, and our baseball team was struggling, and I don't think was getting bad calls, but I had to go out and defend one of my players, and I walked up to the umpire, and I kind of decided, I said, look, I'm going to kind of go crazy on you just to get a point. He goes, okay, go ahead. So I kind of and then I just went off on him, and he just sat there, and it was kind of an act. But it was fun. I was trying to show the parents and the players, I'm defending your guys, but I don't want to be thrown out of the game. So,
well, another there's so many, and I guess we got to stop this at some point. But I want to get one in because I have some familiarity with John McKay, who coached the USC Trojans into many winning season after winning season. Then went to the NFL to the brand new franchise, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they it was their second season, I think, before they won even one game. And they were part of, I was working in radio at the time, and we carried the Tampa Bay Bucks. Well, as you know, you've worked in radio a little bit, Dell. You can have a delay. So after the program, after the game, they would always have the little interview with John, and they would say, because of the incident last week, we're going to have a 7-second delay due to, and then the week after that, they said, well, due to the last week's incident, we're going to have a 14-second delay. Yeah. It got to about a minute. Because he was so outspoken. He was, but a great coach that absolutely failed in professional football. He could not win a game.
Well, it was a bad situation, but so the whole point of that obviously was to watch your anger, motivate, and this book's geared towards anybody, but mostly, men who lead in a family or else young men. So be careful what you do. You can be successful like Bob Knight. You can carry on, have people respect you. But that one incident could come back to bite you if you're not careful. So there's things to do. Walk away a little bit, talk to somebody, journal about it. The whole gist of it is to motivate you is to be a better person. Right. And again, that chapter is meant to I wrote it kind of to honor Bob Knight. Right. And so.
Well, my theory, would Bob Knight had done that early in his career, it might have ended his career, but he had put so many points. He had clout, and he had a reputation. So he had made some deposits that he could make that withdrawal on.
So we're looking forward to that book coming out in July. Heart of a Hoosier. It'll be in the general market. It is a motivational, inspirational book, and Indiana University Press has done a great job on that cover. That's a great looking cover, and we're excited about that. So I had the little picture of me and Michelle. I got to give my little thing about Bird. I was a big Bird Magic fan growing up as a sports writer. Bird was my first big interview. I was like 22 years old and up in Cleveland. That was my first interview of a well-known athlete. I think the greatest, probably the second greatest player.
Now you teach classes on how to interview high profile. How did you do on that one?
I did really good on that. That was my first one. I was a little nervous because Bird can be very intimidating, and he did not like the media at all. And I got him off to the side before the game, And, he was down in the locker room, and I just walked up, and my publisher had told me to ask him about the Santa Claus golf course in Indiana. And so I asked him about that, and he kind of looked at me like, "What are you asking me about a golf course for?" But it kind of broke the ice,
it worked, didn't it?
It was different, yeah. And so I said, "Do you have a minute?" He goes, "Yeah, sit down." And I thought, "Oh wow, Bird's telling me to sit down." So sure, we did. And then we chatted for a little while, and we had a great interview. And he was really at ease. He was, it was really. It was just me and him for like 6 minutes, and it was awesome. And then I interviewed him again in Indiana, and kind of the same way. And then after the game, he kind of ripped into somebody, but whether it was reporters, but I got him before the games. It was really he was nice to me. The 3 times I interviewed Larry, he was always good to me, but I've seen him not be so good to people.
Well, Dell, I hate basketball. Let's talk football. Shout out to Michigan for starting an Ohio State tradition.
Yeah, a lot of folks didn't know that, and my blog, what was it? What
podcast.
Is it? It's a podcast.
Yes, podcast.
I did was out of my first book. It was out of my first book, Buckeye Believer. 40 days of devotions for the Ohio State faithful, and one of the chapters was how you can lead your own Script Ohio, and a lot of folks didn't know that the first Script Ohio was performed by Michigan. The University of Michigan
in
1932 as kind of a gift. And then Ohio State didn't do it for about 6 years later up at Indiana in a game with Indiana. So Michigan did the first Script Ohio, and then obviously the Buckeyes do it. And if you've never seen that, if you've never been to an Ohio State game,
and you lived,
you haven't experienced it. It's kind of like the running of the Indy 500 or the Kentucky Derby. It's a magnificent motivational what do you call it? Pageantry of writing Script Ohio with 192 band members, and to watch them do that is just incredible. It's I've never seen them mess up, and dotting the I, the tuba player, that's an honor.
That's an honor
bestowed upon the.
I would be tuba. The fly, right?
Yeah. So
right in the mayonnaise.
And the whole concept, the whole purpose behind the podcast and behind that chapter in the book was to talk about everything's, they follow that drum major, and the drum major leads them, weaves them in and out, and it's incredible, the timing of it. And if I've never seen this, but if he or she gets out of step, then the whole thing could just be like a dominoes, it's just a big kabobble. So the motivational, inspirational, devotional part of that is you have to, as a father or as a young, even a single mother, your responsibility is to lead. And if you get out of step, if you go to the wrong place, you have little eyes watching you. Mm-hmm. If you slip off and go somewhere you shouldn't, or you say something you shouldn't, or you're looking at something you shouldn't, they're eventually going to see that or hear that, and they're going, if you get out of step, then your kids or whoever's watching you they could follow you down that wrong path. So you can lead your own Script Ohio. You can be the leader, but don't get out of step.
Well, I think that many people would say, well, I'm just not a leader. I'm a nobody. Not so. Okay. Someone is looking up to you. When you get in that car and start texting while you're driving, there's a passenger in that car, and when you, be a good example, because others are looking up to you, even though if you may not consider yourself to be a leader. But I enjoy the podcast. Did we ever get that put on your website?
No, not yet. I will.
Not yet. Okay.
I need to hire an assistant.
I know you will. I know. In your spare time. I get it. But I really enjoy it, Dell, and you're a natural at it. And this is one of the few podcasts that are really solo. So many people are working in tandem. Exercise Your Faith comes to mind, and they work great together. And awesome. So many of them are based on a format kind of like this, an interview style where you have two people, and one can kind of, there's a safety cushion in there. Okay, one can take, you can carry the water if I start wheezing, coughing, sneezing, picking my nose, whatever it may be, but and vice versa. But when you're all by yourself behind that mic, it's you and the world, and you have no script.
No, and I need to maybe start doing that. But I'm getting a lot of good feedback on that, and I appreciate people taking the 10 or 15 minutes a day. I might try to shorten them up a little bit because they may be too long. But
No. I
yeah,
got a 40-minute drive and I can't switch
well, I'm not
channels.
doing 40. I'm not doing 40 minutes, so I try to keep it to 15 at the max.
Yeah, I listen to it twice because I can press the play button again. Without taking my eyes off the road. But
and I appreciate everybody's comments. Everybody's good to share it and retweet, and that's always encouraging. And I've done a YouTube channel. I gotta upload some of those there too. But it's fun. Yeah, I know. The podcast is fun. I typically tape it on a Friday afternoon, Friday night, and then put it out to publish the next day. But I don't know what I'll do this weekend.
Well, it's well produced too. I mean, not only the content, but it's well produced. Your microphone is good. The music is blended well. The timing is good. It's
What's here in my lavish studio is where I do it at right here. So.
Yeah, well, mine too. It's it's a great.
I got to come up with a nice looking studio like you do. Which one are we in this week, by the way? We've been 21 or 18.
This is called Studio 10. But since you're on the subject, and unless you have something else, no. Last night, where I'm going to redo the fireside chat, the animation thing that I've been talking about and working on. It turns out that that's an excellent way to create virtual studios like this. So I'm recreating the fireside chat, which is anyway. But last night was my first night having a professional tutor help me, and not that I can't figure it out. It just I'm 64 years old and I don't have that. Yeah. Trial and error is a tough way to learn. And it was a great experience, and I look forward to showing the something that come out the end of the pipe, because it's tough. But Dale, it's anything else in closing before I shut?
No, I think we have Michelle on tomorrow night, so ask her about the book. We got to start. We're going to start promoting that pretty soon, and because it's a July 6th or July 8th launch, I forget, one of those two.
One of those.
And so we're excited about it. She's excited, and because she's IU gal. So
she'll have plenty to say. I promise. She'll have plenty to say about it and how great IU is. But great to be able to mention Michigan. Well, I wanted to make a comment. One of the things that when I heard that, that is an example of the traditions and the kind of attitude and character that has characterized football. One of the traditions when I was in high school, when we were at our home field at halftime, our home team cheerleaders would run around the end zone and go to the bleachers on the other side of the field and do a cheer. And then they would hold hands with the opposing cheerleaders and they would run back and their opposing cheerleaders would do a cheer to our. And I thought, this is good. This is wholesome. This gives me faith in humanity. When Michigan did that for Ohio, little did they know that would be the beginning of a tradition that lives on to this day. And I don't know if you haven't seen it. I don't know what rock you have been hiding under. It is well known. I remember as a little. I couldn't have been 8, 9 years old. I just goo gaga with that on black and white TV set, It's like, Dad, turn the antenna so we can see that better,
Oh, when you see them walking out of that tunnel, marching out of that tunnel, it's endless. They fill up the entire field. It's like, this is amazing. So,
one of the traditions at Florida State University is a renegade.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, renegade has not. He came with Bobby Bowden started. Dale, when Bobby Bowden got to Florida State football, he tells the story of Renegade. He said that he was approached and he said, I said yes because I just wanted people to have some interest in Florida State football because there was none.
Right. Well, we got to chat because we're going to be doing a book about Florida State. We need Bobby on board on that. So you got to hook me up with Bobby.
You better hurry because he's aging. He is really.
Yeah, that's what it is with Coach Knight as well. His health is not good right now. But and I appreciated Lee being on what he talked about, talking to the racer about identity, and that's one of the common themes. I've talked to so many professional athletes, like Ben Watson. Super Bowl winning tight end. That's all he talked about, was how he put his whole identity in football, and then it just was revealed to him that, hey, I'm not meant to, I'm not put on this earth to play football. So, and then Ben Zobrist talked to me about that. He says, my identity is people cheer for me, and I feel silly sometimes. They're cheering for me. They want my autograph. And he says, I have to be careful not to get caught up in that.
Yeah, and it's so
and it's easy. But he's, Zobrist. I mean, a lot of these athletes talk about that, their identity, because Blaine Boyer said, hey, I throw a baseball. That's all. I throw a baseball, man.
100 miles an hour.
And then, Helio Castroneves, the 3-time Indy winner, Indy 500 winner, we talked for 15 minutes about just his identity. And he's like, I gotta, my wife keeps me grounded, and my family keeps me grounded. He said, it's easy to go out there and, hey, I'm this big shot. He said, I'm not. He goes, I'm very blessed. And so he's very grateful for that. So a lot of these athletes have that, a lot of these Christian athletes have that same mirrored interview. I mean, you could take Ben Watson and Ben Zobrist and put them, two different guys. They almost said the exact same thing. One was in Cleveland or Cincinnati. One was in Minneapolis. So it was incredible.
Well, Dale, and I know we're going long, but a point. We need to make a spiritual point here, because see, it's good, and because your identity is not in your athletic performance, no matter how good you are. Now, let me tell you something about those accolades. They are fleeting. You're going to get old. You're going to retire. And let me tell you, the same people that are cheering you today will be running you out of town tomorrow. Ask Michael Vick.
Yeah, really.
And some others that you've mentioned along the way on this program.
Yeah, he tried to make a comeback, but he's there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do, and he was one of those things he can't do. You can't hurt an animal. So, but no, it's you mentioned people are going to forget, and this is a quick story. We was at a baseball tournament I was coaching, and Paul O'Neill was there. He had a nephew playing. And Paul O'Neill, a great career with the Reds, and on with the Yankees, where he won 4 National World Series. He's from Ohio. He's from the Columbus area, so he was there. And I kind of saw him over by the dugout. And my kids knew him from being in the Seinfeld episode. He was in Seinfeld. Yeah, he's got 5 World Championship rings, but
and he's been on Seinfeld. Yeah.
He's on Seinfeld. That was it. So I kind of mosey over there. And I said, "Hey," Mr. O'Neill, because yeah. And he is retired. He said, my kids like to meet you. Sure, man, sure. And he goes over. And by that time, a lot of folks saw him. And they all start coming over to him. And I just kind of, he kind of bit down the dugout. And I kind of peeked in. I said, hey, man, sorry about that. He goes, oh, man. He goes, one day nobody's going to want my autograph. He goes, I don't mind at all. And he signed the signed baseballs.
Oh,
so,
bless her.
But yeah, he had the right attitude.
Dale, there's so many inspiring stories out there, and you bring them to us. And even though I don't care for basketball and I don't care for baseball, I do care about the character, good character and good leadership and good examples. And I appreciate you sharing those stories with us. And hey, we'll do this again next week, man. I appreciate you visiting.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being out there. Sorry we went long.
There we go, Dale Didway, as he is every Tuesday night. And there you see it right there. There's the mission statement, providing a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ. It used to say ordinary Christians. And it dawned upon me that there should be no such thing as an ordinary Christian. So here's some motivation for you. Here's a challenge for you. First, it's 2 questions. You can handle this. Or maybe you can't. Let's find out. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And when was that? So many good examples. So much inspiration. It's on that screen night after night. But it takes some courage to tell those stories in the face of all the sewage that's out there. So I hope that none of us will be satisfied with our answer to either of those 2 questions.